Hello. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm so happy to finally meet you.
I'd
How
like to
are
meet
you?
you. I'm doing really well. My name is Melissa.
My name is my name is Camila, Melissa. Nice to meet you.
You too. I'm
Yeah,
excited to talk to you.
yes, thank you. Thank you for being excited. I'm really excited to talk to you too. I was like very impressed by your profile. Your reviews are so amazing. And you have
Oh,
taught like over 300 lessons last month. Wow,
yeah. It's
congratulations.
been a, you're so sweet. It's been a good. You know what? I have the best students in the world. I'm like the luckiest person. Every conversation is amazing to me, and I come away being more inspired than I would have ever imagined. So
Oh,
it's
wow.
a cool thing. It's a
Wow,
cool thing.
amazing, amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so yeah.
go ahead. Tell me what we're doing together. Let's go for
Yes. Yes, cool. So, what I've been doing is it's because I'm about to become, can I say become 31 or to be 31?
it. I'm about to be 31. Yes.
I'm
Yes.
about to be 31. I guess every teacher correct that over the lessons that I've been having and like still couldn't like so I'm about to be 31. And then I was thinking about this last year, like with coronavirus,
Mhm.
and I I sort of got the feeling that I was not accomplishing much. I
Yes.
don't
I
know,
think a
maybe.
lot of people feel that way. Yes.
Yeah, and being 31 for me was, I mean, nothing really changed, but
Mhm.
it felt like by now I should have some things figured out, uh, that I did not have. I don't know
Yes.
if it
No,
makes
I
sense.
totally understand. Yes. It's the quest of humanity. Yes. To figure something out. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So I just thought, hey, why don't I mean, I've been learning English for so long, but I still feel like there's so much more to develop. I do not feel secure. I sometimes meet people, English native speakers, and
Yes.
so I want to talk to them about so many important things for me, but I just have the vocabulary for daily, like, I don't know, negotiable kind of
Right.
things.
Yes.
So I thought, so I created this project, and I've been talking to different people about different things that really matter to me. So if in the future when I meet people, I'm able to talk to them, I will have the vocabulary to explain, to have deep conversations about topics that matter, you
I
know?
love it. I think that's the
Yeah.
absolute best way to learn a new language is to talk about the things that you love, like you really love, that you're passionate about. And, some of the words that we learn when we first learn a new language, we learn things like pencil case and
Yeah.
different objects, and they're fine. But when you get to the heart of what you love and what you're passionate about, that's where you really start expressing yourself. So I love this project. It's awesome.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you. Thank
fantastic.
you.
Hmm.
Yes, yes. So what I'm doing, I'm taking a lot of notes. So before each lesson that I have, I study what I first sort of create in my mind what that topic means to me, what I'd like to express. I I write things down in Portuguese. Sometimes I even write things down in English, and if I write them in Portuguese, I will translate them. So yeah, so I will try to explain something, and yeah, and hopefully I'll be able to do it. I'm always
I
very
have
nervous.
I have complete confidence in you. You're going to do great.
Thank you, very sweet.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so today I wanted to talk to you about studying,
Yes.
because I have been a student throughout my life, my entire life. I
Mhm.
went to school when I was 3 years old. And I sort of never left school. I love studying, really. I couldn't make up my mind when I was in high school and I wanted to, and I had to pick a career. So I wanted to be so many things, and I ended up going to simultaneously to two schools, two universities. So I
Yes.
studied law, and I
Mhm.
also study political sciences.
Sure. Political
Yeah,
science.
political
Hmm.
science. And after graduating, I kept studying, and I really liked going to law school. I mean,
Hmm.
I do not actually enjoy practicing it the way it works, like in my country. I do not like the negotiable, like it always, yeah, am I say
The negotiations.
the
Hmm. Negotiations. You could say
negotiate.
the negotiations, or I didn't like to negotiate. Either one.
Yeah,
Hmm.
to this word is hard. Negotiate,
It is a hard one.
yeah,
It is a hard one. Negotiate.
negotiate.
Good job.
Yeah,
Yes.
negotiate. Um, yeah, and I mean, like the transactional part of it, like
Mhm.
when people's feelings are not taken into consideration, and
Mm.
it's just like, and it felt, I mean, in school, at school, on school, oh,
In school,
in school.
you were right from the beginning. Whoa.
Yeah, yeah. I used to have a friend who would tell me that the first time I say things, I'm right, but then I second guess myself.
I know. We all
Yeah,
do it. Yes.
yeah.
But in school, you were saying in school. Hmm.
Yeah, in school the theory was so beautiful. Like theory is a difference than practice. So I was in love, sort of in love with the law, with the idea of
Yeah.
justice, but after I left school, university was not the way I expected, but I
Mm.
always kept learning. I always kept studying, and so after school, I graduated in 2014.
Mhm.
I discovered languages. I mean, I I studied before, but not with that passion.
Mhm.
So when I fell in love with languages in 2014, 2015, I I went deep. Can I say that? I went very
Mm.
deep.
I went deeper. I went
I
deeper.
went deeper. Yeah.
Hmm.
And then I decided it sort of happened to me. I became a teacher, a language teacher as well.
Hmm.
So I'm passionate with the process of learning and teaching as well. And I think the more I learn as a student, the better I become as a teacher.
Sure,
And
of course.
yeah, so I do not quite get, because I mean sometimes people they make it look like studying is a bad thing. Maybe the way it is presented to us in school, like this torture, like you have to study because you need to have grades, to you need
Yes.
to pass exams to get to a great university. It feels like an obligation, but I feel like for me it is a pleasure, and it can be if you have like the right mindset. So I think also, I mean, studying is a skill, and sometimes I get my students, they tell me like, um, I am not a quick. They used to say that like I'm not a quick learner. I cannot
Yeah.
learn things quicker. I'm slow. I I'm not. I wasn't. I don't know how they say exactly, but it's something like I was not born for languages. I don't have the language genes. I cannot learn languages.
Yes.
Usually, English native speakers, they tend to
It's
say,
a great excuse, isn't it?
"Yeah, but I don't think that they think it is cute." They do not
I
see.
think they think it's true. I think they
Yeah,
think it's true. I really love what you're saying though about being passionate about something. And the idea that when you're passionate and you use the word very often as you're expressing yourself, that you fell in love with law, you fell in love with languages. You know, this is something that when you fall in love with something, it's hard not to learn it. You know, so I think that that's a key for even language learners. I started learning French when I was 53 years old. For the first word in French was at 53, and now I'm conversationally fluent, and it happened in just a couple years. But why? It's because I fell in love with it. And I was one of those people who thought, I don't have the language gene. I'm too old. I can't do, all those things. And if somebody would just have told me from the very start, just fall in love, just let yourself fall in love, because there's so much to fall in love with, right? When you're learning a language, like so much there. But you have that ability to do that when you're studying new things. It's beautiful. It's
Yeah,
very beautiful.
but now I am so curious. How did that happen to you? How did you feel? How did you fall in love with French? Did you travel? Did you watch a movie? Or how did it happen?
I traveled a lot. I had an amazing professor. I think part of it is finding a really good teacher, who you jive with and who understands your capacity, who teaches you in a style that works for you, because we don't all learn the same way. So find a good teacher is the most important thing, but then there's so many options traveling, finding about the food, forcing yourself to have conversations even when you feel nervous, just like you're having all these amazing, deep, wonderful, rich conversations, and there may be a part of you that goes, oh, I feel a little bit nervous about doing that, but you come away, I'm sure, going, oh, that felt so good, right, afterwards. So having the conversations, asking questions, tasting the food, finding out the traditions, what is there not to fall in love with? Except if you're going to go, okay, I have to memorize these words and I have to do this and this and this. When you feel it's an obligation, that, or you have to, you have to come from that want to space. I want to, I love to. And I think that changes a lot. And that's something you have. I mean, you have that all throughout your life, right? That, oh, I want to learn more and more and more. You let yourself fall in love.
Yeah, yeah, it is interesting. I guess I have always been like in love with this learning because I think as humans, I mean, as life forms, there is so much to learn about the universe that we live in. I mean, and it could be anything. It could be like languages. There are a lot of depths, even for our native languages. I mean, for Portuguese or English, I'm sure we are learning about our own languages every day.
Mhm.
But I mean, pretty much everything, like how to be a good guitar player,
Mhm.
or how to make a dress, how to make up. I mean, we need to find something we are really passionate about, and then
Mhm.
it will be easy. There's so much to learn. And even if we are not that passionate, because sometimes I with my students learning Portuguese is not like, I mean, most of them are learning. Maybe for English learners is different because we really need to learn English for a lot of reasons in this world. But
Mhm.
yeah, actually, yeah, with Portuguese, my students, they learn because they want it, not because they need it. But there are some exceptions. Some people who are coming to Brazil to work, for example,
Yes.
really have to.
Mhm.
So it's not like they want to, and they have to motivate themselves and to somehow trick their brains into believing that is, and it's easy because it is a new thing. Actually, not easy, but i- i- if you convince yourself that is important to fall in love, like you said, with the food, with the culture,
Mhm.
everything is interesting, even math.
Yeah.
The
I'm
numbers, how
not
they're
sure,
related.
I'm not sure if I totally agree with the math thing,
Yeah.
but I'm willing to be open to hearing more about this.
No, I don't know. I don't know. It could be if you would trick yourself, like how
If
the
it
number.
works for math, you're really onto something there.
I mean,
I totally understand what you're saying. Yes,
yeah,
I totally agree. I do think that part of it is finding the pleasure, even when you have to. It's because sometimes we do have to learn a language for the sake of a job or
yeah,
whatever it may be. So that place of going, okay, I do have to do this. So for me, a huge thing about doing something that you have to do, I always say, how do I make this fun? Like how
yeah.
do I have fun? Like, really, instead of just making it torture, there's always a way to make something fun. So, how do I have fun
Exactly.
enjoying doing this? You know,
Exactly.
and I think languages you can really have fun learning. You really can. Even sometimes when you flub up and you fail and you say the wrong words, it's actually really funny. I mean, it is funny. If you think about the way people say the wrong things, and if you can just not be self-conscious about it and just go, yeah, I'm going to fail, I'm going to mess up. And that's the fun part about it, because at some point you won't, it will click and you're not going to make that same mistake.
Exactly.
So having fun with it,
Exactly.
having fun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it will click. It usually clicks. We just need to give it time. Uh,
Mhm.
so people, they think that learning could be difficult, but it is actually really simple with languages, with everything. It is repetition. It's
Yeah.
nothing but repetition. It's
Yeah.
just repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat. And even when you cannot understand, can I say right off the bat? Right off the bat?
Right on. You can say it and you said it correctly.
Oh,
Yes. You get 1,000 points. I don't know what that means, but I'm going to give them to you. A
really?
thousand points.
Really?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, you know what? I think you're right. That consistency. I was talking to one of my students today, and sometimes people think, oh, I can learn something if I do it once a week or once every 2 weeks. And, you know, for me, I use the phrase when I was learning French, I use the phrase that I would be relentlessly
I do not
consistent.
understand relentlessly.
It's like you do it over and over and over and over again. You don't give up on it. You stay relentlessly consistent. It's like someone who's relentless doesn't stop. They don't stop. They just keep at it, keep at it, keep at it. And for me, it was about creating a habit of doing it daily with joy, like really with fun. And then I would actually track every time I put an hour into studying French, I would track it,
Yes.
because
Yes.
I think it's important to know how much time you've put in. Plus, by doing it consistently, you know this, you teach this, you are creating a momentum. And at
Yeah.
first, it's so hard. It's so hard to start building that momentum, because you're creating, you're building a new muscle. But at a certain point, you become it becomes a force of habit, where the habit drives you. Like, you don't have to say to yourself, I'm going to study English. You start going, oh, I really want to. And then your world feels a little weird if you haven't, you miss it. You long for it because you're in love with it, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, though. You said that as you're a student, as you become, as you study things, it informs or it makes you a better teacher.
Mhm.
Yeah, the more that you study, the more you learn actually about teaching, and you become a better teacher. I'd love to hear a little bit about how it's made you a better teacher. Being a good student has made you a better teacher.
Oh, great question. Well, I think in many ways. So when one one way, I mean in one way, I
Mhm.
can empathize with my students.
Exactly. I
With
think so.
yeah, as a French student, you can understand the struggle.
Totally, totally. I think it would be hard actually to be a language teacher if you don't speak another language.
Exactly.
There are many that teach it, but I think I have so much empathy because I know what it feels like to have to move your mouth in a way that doesn't feel natural,
Yeah.
or I can empathize where when somebody feels self-conscious about trying something
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
embarrassed because they got the wrong answer. So yes, to be able to empathize, I think is a huge gifting from being a
Mm-hmm.
learner to being a teacher. Hmm.
Exactly, exactly. So also I think as a student, you can learn from your teachers. You
Hmm.
can learn how to be a better teacher by observing
Hmm.
what works, what doesn't work, if you try in yourself first. So that method that this teacher is applying, or that book that I read, so I test on myself first, and if it
Hmm.
works for me, maybe it will work for some of my students, so I can recommend after being submitted or guinea
Hmm.
pig to
Hmm.
that
But methodology.
methodology.
Hmm.
Yeah, also, what else? I think you learn how to motivate them as well.
I love that. Hmm.
Yeah, because you know that it is difficult. You know that there are times that we reach this plateau where we are not moving, we feel like we are not making progress. So if you've been there yourself, once your students get stuck, you know how to motivate them to keep learning. And I think, yeah, and yeah, in many ways, I'd say. And what
That's it.
about you? Do you think that being a student makes you a better teacher?
Oh, absolutely. And for many of the same reasons that you mentioned, and that space too of knowing that there's sometimes you have to experiment a little bit and you do find new ways because you do plateau sometimes, and sometimes you have to go, okay, in the beginning maybe these were really good exercises, but then when you start reaching a new level and advancing to a new level, you may need to change your strategy, right?
Yeah.
So the same method doesn't work for every level. Sometimes you have to adapt your method of learning for your students because they may have learned really quickly and really were motivated by something in the beginning, but then you have to go, okay, let's start stretching another muscle here so we can have this language learning be very strong on all fronts. So yeah, I'm so grateful for the struggles that I've had in learning French. I'm so grateful for all the mistakes I've made and the embarrassing moments and the ability to laugh at myself and have my teacher laugh at me and all those things, because I do think when it comes down to it, empathy is a huge thing. To go, I know what you're going through. I totally understand. And then to go, here, I think this is going to motivate you, or here's another thing that may help and may work because it worked for me. Let's give it a try. Let's give it a
Yeah.
try. So yeah, it's cool. It's very cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and yeah, I think also made me more friendly also being
Mhm.
a learner, because I know that uh th that ability of how can I say, being laughed with or laughed at.
Yes,
le-
being laughed at. Being laughed at.
Yeah, but with respect. It's not like the teacher is like,
Yes,
yes, it is how can I say, it is not, it is that we are having fun
yes, yes,
together.
yes.
So yeah, I notice also that when I'm learning with a teacher, how can I say, with or from a teacher?
When I'm learning with a teacher,
With a
yeah,
teacher,
when I'm with a teacher,
with a friendly teacher, it is easier. So I notice that if I am more open and friendly with, I am naturally like that, but
yes.
it'll be easier because they're
You're aware.
nervous.
I remember my first French lesson. I
Really?
I was literally, my face was all red and I was sweating. And right before the call, I'm like, I don't want to do this. Why did I do this? And I'm like, I literally had to like force myself to do it. You know, I'm like, it was like one of the biggest things. And I tell my students that I'm like, because usually they'll say on the first lesson, I'm so nervous. And I'm like, hey, listen, I know I was a hot mess before my call. So it is a
Wow.
very vulnerable thing to
I
put
know.
yourself in somebody's trust and to trust somebody, and because you're not competent when you first begin. So
Yeah.
of course they're nervous, but unless you've experienced that really, and I experienced it. I mean, sweat coming down, everything. It was one of those things that when you experience that as a learner, as a teacher, you do go, I get it. I know how brave you are. I know how much courage this takes. And it's amazing that you're doing this, because language learning is an amazing thing. It really
Yeah.
is. Hmm.
Yeah. 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 I'm in love with learning. Learning. I I know we need to finish. Just one quick thing.
Yes.
I was listening to a podcast the other day, and I heard the sentence, we are not we are not ashamed of starting something. We
Mm.
are ashamed of being seen starting from scratch.
I love that. It's
Yeah,
true, right?
yeah.
Mhm.
And then I was like, yes, it is true. It is difficult to put yourself in like, I do not know that. I want to learn that. Let me start from zero, from scratch here, like languages or other things. But you have to start somewhere. And most people, they won't start learning a new skill, a new ability, a new subject, especially after college. It's difficult because we have to work, we have to do a lot of things. So put ourselves in the position of learners. It is
Yes.
not something that comes like naturally or easy.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that quote. I think it's beautiful. And you know what? There has been all the research done on happiness. So much research on what makes people most happy. One of the qualities of being a very, very happy person is somebody who's growing and stretching and learning. It over and over again, it says that that's one of the very important qualities that the happiest people have, is that they're learning, they're putting themselves in this position where they're like, I don't know anything, I'm at zero, and I'm going to build my way up, I'm going to learn. That's what gives us deep, deep satisfaction and deep happiness. So it's
Yeah.
a very cool thing.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
you
Thank you
are
so
just
much.
delightful and excellent job. Your communication is beautiful. You just speak beautifully in English, communicating on really amazing levels. So way
Oh,
to
thank you.
go putting yourself
Thank
out there
you.
and
Thank
to
you. And I
fully
love,
be.
yeah, I love that time we spent together, and I love to do that again with you soon if you're up to.
Yes, anytime,
Thank
anytime.
you. Thank you. Have
Okay,
a
good
lovely
job.
night.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.